Hello and welcome to our Mengham Infant School presentation for new parents to Year R this year. Thank you for taking the time to watch this. Hopefully this will give you an idea of what to expect when your child starts Year R in September. I'm Mr Lunneman.
And I'm Miss Pennell, but from September I will be Mrs Young, so I know that's quite confusing.
And in case we refer to her as Mrs Pennell throughout this presentation, or Mrs Young, it's the same person, there's not two random people who are here.
Yes. So that will be from September. It'll be on all the documentation, but so up to you how you
want to refer to her, as everyone will know who you mean. But we're also going to preface this presentation with another bit, which is we understand at the moment it's all very uncertain. As you might imagine, even in school, it's pretty uncertain as to what's going to happen. And so we just want to say that these are our current plans. This is what we're expecting to hope to be able to do. But obviously that could all change due to government guidelines and whatever comes out over the next few months as to what schools will look like.
Yeah, and anything that does change from the things that we've sent to you already, we will obviously communicate that with you as soon as we know about the changes and what we're going to do about that. And that will be through the usual means, so like our Facebook page or email or any of those kinds of things.
Great. So hopefully yesterday you received a lovely booklet which had some information about your child's class, as well as a letter that told them which class they're going to be in, who their TA and teacher are going to be, and who their key person or key worker is. You'll often hear us refer to both key person and key worker, but it's the same thing for their new class. And over the coming weeks, you'll receive a booklet that's got a lot of consent forms in it, things like for going on trips. We go on quite a lot of local trips in our local area, a registration form for school, a nursing form, a letter from the governors, absence information, uniform information, lots of stuff. So if you need any support with any of that when it arrives, which will be in the next few weeks, please don't hesitate to get in touch with the office and they'll be able to help you fill out the right forms. I'm also aware that Mrs Hawley in the office did tell me that if you haven't yet been through to the office to bring in your birth certificate and that sort of proof of address, if you just give the office a ring and they'll arrange a time for you to come in and drop them off. Lovely.
Okay, so starting school, all children gradually build up in September to becoming full-time. You would have received yesterday almost like a timetable, which says that all children will start on Thursday the 10th of September. Again, subject to change depending on what the guidance is. So depending on your child's date of birth is when we've chosen for your child to start. So they'll be doing mornings and some will be doing afternoons. But we'll explain that more on the slides that come later because the timetable's there. So we'll go into more detail then.
So each class is divided into two key person groups. You've got penguins and puffins. If you are a penguin, you'll have me, Mr Lunneman. If you're a puffin, you'll have Mrs Pennell. And then in those classes, they're divided into two key person groups. So that is your child's special adult. So it could be me or Mrs Pennell, but it could also be Mrs McNally or Mrs Smith. And what their adult's job is to do is just to help them to become more settled, more happy, to show them where things are, help them feel really safe, and hopefully as well to get a really good bond with that adult. And that's through daily communication with that child, as well as spending time in those key worker groups daily to sort of get them used to how school works and how school runs.
Okay, so first day of school, you would have received it yesterday with the word on it, the word soft start. So basically what that means is each group will have a soft start where the adult, where mum, dad, nan, granddad, whoever it is that drops off, can come into school with the child on the first day, find their peg, which will usually have their photo and their name on it, help them put their book bag away in their drawer, so spend some time playing with them just to settle them in. And as you'll be able to see from the timetable, that's on a weekly basis, depending on the colour of your group, and that will be the day that you can come in. So that isn't actually anything to do with the current situation. Actually, the reason we do that is so it's less daunting for all of the children that are starting to have so many adults in the environment at the same time. So it means the environment's a lot calmer. It means that when there's just one group with the children, the teachers and the TAs can be with the other children who don't have their adults there, and it's about keeping everybody safe in the environment.
So as you can see here, which is kind of what Mrs Pennell was just talking about, you can see that different days, so starting on Thursday the 10th of September will be different soft starts. So there's a soft start in the morning and soft start in the afternoon. And as you go down through the days, the more days children are at school, the less soft starts are involved and the more children will be in school for a longer period of time. So that after about a week or so, all children are in all the time. Yeah. And we're kind of up and running. And again, this is all subject to whatever happens in September with schools. But as you'll see at the top from Thursday the 3rd of September that it says virtual home visits and a time slot to see your teacher. Normally what would happen in that first week of school is that myself and Mrs. Pennell and the teaching assistants in Year R would come out to visit you, see your home, talk to you about your child, what your child's like at home, get some information about them. We're fully expecting for that not to be possible in September. So our current plan is either to have a virtual home visit, which would involve like via Zoom or one of those sorts of things, to talk to you, or it'll be an opportunity for you perhaps to come into the unit on an individual basis to have a look around the unit and to talk to us there. We're not quite sure how that will work yet, but we'll pass on more information as soon as we have it.
Okay, so on the previous slide, obviously you can see, sorry, I'm just going to go back, you can just see where it says soft start and no soft start. So for the older children who are born between September and February, from Monday the 14th, obviously they wouldn't have had a soft start for that week, and we are aware of that. But from Monday the 21st, all children will have a soft start on their colour day, so you can see that there. On the Monday we don't have a soft start for anybody, but that's because across the whole school we have a big reading focus where any parent can come in from 8:30, the doors will be open, and you can sit somewhere quietly and read with your children. Younger siblings are welcome to come in as well, and older ones. However, we do ask that you just keep them with you, and you need to just stay with your child. But yeah, that's a nice 15 minutes from 8:30 to 8:45 for you to spend with your children every Monday across the whole school. And then it will roll into how we see soft starts happening, and we'll review that later if it's not working, but we'll see where we are. That will also change every half term, just in case parents are not able to attend on certain days. It means that all parents have chance to come in with their children on their days.
Great. So the earliest foundation stage is, I'm sure you might know this already, is the time between birth and between the age of 5. So it's what it continues from your child's at nursery and preschool, and it all continues all the way into school, and it finishes when they go into Key Stage 1, so basically into Year 1. And we're really passionate about how important this stage is in their life, and actually their experiences now in Year R, as you'll find out when we talk a little bit more about the curriculum, really shape the people that they will be when they grow up. And so we try to make the experience a really happy experience, that they're really active and engaged in what they're doing. It's exciting and it's fun, and actually it supports their development needs as they kind of grow through Year R, and it's a really significant year in their lives.
Okay, so in the EYFS we've got prime areas and we've got specific areas. Yeah, we go on to the next one. So the prime areas, these really come first, and they come from the pedagogy of the EYFS. So we've got all about the unique child, we've got enabling environments, and we've got positive relationships, which we hope and will build with your child. So all the experiences they have in Year R will develop their communication and language, will develop their physical development, and will develop their personal, social and emotional needs. All of those three things are absolutely vital before we can even start to think about the 4 specific areas, and they're born from that. So if we've got good communication language, good physical development and good PSE, we will see skills and knowledge coming for literacy, maths, understanding the world and expressive arts and design. Understand the world is really geography, science, and history, and just exploring their local environment and being interested and being curious. And obviously expressive arts and design is getting messy with paint and clay and all of that, and singing and drama and music and all of those wonderful things which they will learn through play. There it is.
Speaking of learning through play, it's almost like we planned this really well. So the majority of our learning through Year R is through play, and which is why often you'll hear the phrase, all they do is play in Year R, but actually that play is so important to all the areas of development that we're going to talk about in a minute. And we practice our skills through a lot of things that happen through play, like games, role playing, inside and outside activities. It might be, and even just having fun outside with each other brings out so many different skills. And so what we want to try and get through that play is them to be able to be more independent, them be able to help themselves, opportunity for them to make choices about what they want to do, which leads into that child initiated time that they have, where they can choose the things they want to do and the skills they want to learn or what they want to practice. And where we come in is that actually we support them in that when they haven't got the skills yet, or actually we want to extend them on so they can take that even further with what they're doing.
Okay, so through play, which Mr. Donovan said we're very passionate about, and we do get a bit upset if people say that all they're doing in year R is just playing, because actually they're not, they're learning. So in communication language, we would be developing them through reading familiar stories, talking about events and stories and things that have happened and why, to concentrate on an activity and focus attention. We'd be developing their language and vocabulary. Like Mr. Lunderman said, lots of role play activities really helps to create strong vocabulary and language from their peers.
And that leads nicely to physical development. And so this starts with lots of things, just thinking about moving with control in a range of ways. So often they lack the physical coordination over their bodies yet. So we do things like hopping, skipping, jumping, and then we start to introduce equipment. So if you come to our Year R area, you'll see we've got lots of tyres and planks of wood to walk across and crates to climb up. But actually, all of that is really important so they can get control over the big bits of their body, so that actually they can start to get control with the small bits of their body. And that leads into holding a pencil, starting to form our handwriting, and also actually to make them into fit and healthy adults that they know how to keep themselves fit and healthy, which is really important as they grow.
So PSE, so personal, social and emotional development. We want the children to grow up as rounded adults who are happy and social. So it starts in Year R. Well, actually it starts in preschool, but we develop it in Year R. We want them to be able to play and share and take turns, and we will teach them this through modelling and being with them. We want them to be able to talk and listen to others, and moving on to problem solving and being able to compromise, understanding each other's feelings. So our school is very proud to support mental health and be very open about this and do lots of days that celebrate mental health. So we want them to have the confidence to try new strategies when something is not working. We want them to share ideas and opinions, to understand and talk about their feelings and be happy about that, and talk about other people's feelings and be open about their emotions. Because obviously that would feed into absolutely everything they do. If they've got good PSE, everything else will eventually come.
And then we then start to think about their literacy development. Actually, that's talking about the characters and settings in a story. We start to think about how stories end. And when we've read lots of stories, we kind of know how stories end. And we start to see that in our own stories that we might make up. And then once we've read and heard lots of stories, we start to hear and say sounds in words. And we start to use these words to write in sentences, which is when we start to think about our phonics. We blend these sounds together to read words and sentences. And also, again, going back to those stories that we read, we want to read a lot of stories in Year R because actually we want to pick up all that language that we can use in our play that we hear in stories, and to talk about the stories that we read, what we liked about them, what we didn't like about them. And then that starts to inform what kind of literacy children that we are.
So maths is usually something we do throughout the environment all day long. It's everywhere we look. So we've got number games and we've got problems. Number problems, we want them to be able to recognise numerals to 20. We want them to be able to count. We want them to be able to do simple addition and subtraction problems. And that sounds really daunting, but actually it's within role play, and lots of children are doing it already. We just don't realise that they're doing it. We want them to be able to be confident to talk about time and money, lengths and heights. And weights, again, this is all through the environment. We've got a home corner with lots of money in there. We've got clocks in there. They've got weighing scales. They do cookery when they're here as well. So they'll be learning that through weighing their ingredients. We want them to play with, name and sort different shapes. And again, this is all done through the environment. And an adult going in to, extend that learning, counting how many things we've got, ordering, lining up things, all kinds of things. Lots of counting.
All in the environment.
All in the environment, yeah.
And then we start to think about understanding the world. And this is them starting to think about what they're interested in and what they want to find out about, and asking questions about things that they don't know about or they don't understand yet or they want to understand. And so we do lots of building. We have lots of materials out they can build. They can find out what things are for, and learning what things were used for. So think about things historically that have happened. So one of the things I like to share is that I once showed the children what a CD player was, and the number of them that had no idea what it was or how it was used kind of shows how even in the last 10 years how things have changed. So, and then also the final thing is thinking about different cultures and beliefs. We want children to be really rounded, empathetic individuals who understand other cultures and beliefs and are very tolerant of that. And that's one of the reasons we put that into not just into the EYFS, but also into the rest of the school.
Okay, so expressive arts and design. We basically want children to be themselves and express themselves in lots of different ways. So when we think of art and design, we think of the art area, and this is true, but it's also about making things, and that making things could be outside. Like Mr. Lunman said, with the tyres or the pallets, they could be making a pirate ship one day, they could be making something completely different the next day. It's about them using their imagination, and that's within art and within DT and music and drama. We're very lucky in our school, we've got a very good skills curriculum, so the children will learn lots of art skills right from in year R, and they will build on them as we go through the years. And that's the same with music and design and technology. With drama, we encourage drama all the time. That's very much linked to literacy, and also storytelling. So what you will find is lots of these areas, so the 7 areas, definitely link and intertwine with each other.
So once we've got through all of that,
the
first few weeks at school are basically us trying to get to know your children. And so a lot of that we'd often do on the home visit and through talking to preschools as well. But the first few weeks of school are very much us observing the children, seeing what they can do, seeing what skills they have, what they're lacking in at the moment, and then we try and put in individual steps for them to build on the skills they already have. And so we always value things that you can tell us about your child. So we're not sure obviously how home visits will look yet, but whatever that will look like, we will definitely be getting information from you about your child, because you know your child the best. And so actually we want to learn what it is that makes them tick, so we can make sure that our environment is something that allows them to thrive. And so obviously we've already spoken to the preschools, so we just said, and so all of that will feed into what we do in the first half term.
This will also be a great time for your child to get to know us. So we'll share lots of things about what we like and what we do as well, and they get to know the school, and we'll go around different parts of the school. They get to know all the adults here. So it's definitely a part of a few weeks of just getting to know everyone, each other.
It's their first time at school. So.
So communication between you and us, obviously very, very important. So we'll start with third one down, which is their communication book, along with their soft starts. If it's not your time to come in, but you really want to tell us something, it might be as simple as, they didn't sleep very well last night, or they've had cowpole this morning, or whatever it might be. Write it in that book. Myself and Mr. Lunneman will check that every single morning, and we'll be kept informed of whatever's going on at home, but also other things can be put in there about picking up or whatever that might be. So communication between yourselves and us is every day. But there's also other ways to communicate. So there's the Facebook group, which obviously we've got our year R one, but there's also the whole school one, which is good for reminders and things like that. There's Marvelous Me, which is a lovely little app, which we've got it in school, and then you would download it on your device as well. And it just allows me and Mr. Lunneman to send you little messages about what your child might have done that day. So for example, if they've had a brilliant PE lesson, we might just send that child a badge to say, well done, brilliant PE lesson. That also gives you a bit of a stimulus to talk to your child about whatever's happened, because we know sometimes children would just say, they can't remember what they've done.
And Marvellous Me is another good one to give, because you can give it out to as many family members as you like. So if you've got grandparents who want to know what they're doing at school, you can give grandparents the code, they can download the app, actually then they know what's going on at school as well. So it's a really nice way for us to show all the good things that we do at school. And give you a chance to talk to them.
It's also got little reminders on there, which is brilliant. So we can just send you a little reminder. So if there was a letter due in the next day or something, we can send you a little reminder on that. So that's brilliant. We've got school newsletters. We also have a whole year worth of dates that comes out to you, so you can put everything in your diary so you know what's happening. Tapestry. Mr. Lunneman was pointing to Tapestry. We have Tapestry. I don't know, some preschools have used it, so some of you will know what that is, but obviously some won't. We will have an evening on that, an after school evening closer to when you're starting in September. But briefly, Tapestry is our assessment tool where we take photos and videos of your child to see what they're doing in school, and you can use it as a form of assessment, and you can use it as a form of linking home and school. the other great thing about it is, and I've seen this really work this year, is that you can put videos and photos of your child and what they're doing at home. So I've had really good ones of children riding their bike for the first time with no stabilizers, or children doing their buttons up for the first time, or using a knife and fork correctly, or any of those things, any wow moments that you want to let us know about. They're brilliant for assessment, but they're also really good to just close that gap between home and us, so the children are aware that we do talk.
Sometimes they're definitely not. Wonderful. And so these are some things you can be doing now, and hopefully you are doing lots of these things now, but also things we really want to encourage when your child starts in September. So reading is probably one of the most important things you can do while your child's at school. That can be reading their school book if they've got a school book at home. If they don't, reading any stories with them. You sharing books with them is really important, not just for them to hear what good storytelling sounds like, but also you can ask them loads of questions about it. And as we talked about earlier, that feeds into that language that they're going to pick up from hearing lots and lots of stories. We understand that it's difficult because if you're a working parent or you've got more than one child at home, then actually it's really hard. But if you can try and read 4 times in a week, that will help impact on their development massively. We also send home a half-termly homework grid, which we'll send out an example of at some point, which basically is we don't set formal homework each week, but it's just got a few boxes and gives you a choice of a few things you can do at home with them. They're often really fun, creative things, or practicing a key skill in school. They're not meant to be a big stress of, I've got to get my homework done this night. It's meant to be done across the half term, so you can your child can enjoy that bit of their learning. And the last 2, just talking to your children. And we know you already do this already, but the more you can talk to them about what they did at school, what they liked, what they didn't like, what friends they've got at school, what activities they did, what sounds they're learning, all that stuff feeds into that communication and language like we talked about earlier. And also, again, as Mrs. Young said earlier, feeds into that school and home talk to each other, and that's really, really important. Yeah,
because we'll ask them as well, like, oh, did you have a lovely weekend? What have you done at the weekend? And it's just really nice that actually everything that they say feels they're valued for it. Yeah,
that's a really good way of putting it.
Okay, so last but not least, so obviously today is Wednesday, a week today. So on the 17th, we'll do a live Facebook video where you can ask us any questions you want to. If you don't want to ask a question, you feel embarrassed or you feel it's a bit private, you can always email parent queries.
And we've had lots of people do that already.
Yeah, we have. So that's absolutely fine. And put in the subject New Year on, and it would be directed to myself and Mr. Lunneman, and we'll answer you there. However, no question is usually too small or too big or embarrassing. You probably might feel like it is, but it isn't, and we've been asked all manner of questions, and we just want you to feel really settled, and because if you're settled, your child's more likely to be settled. So actually this is a transition for yourself as well. So just ask us any questions you want, and we'll be happy to try and answer them. Like Mr. Lunneman said, it's about balancing between what we can say will definitely happen and what
we'd like to happen.
Because obviously of the current situation. So all these plans are as they stand, and we hope to not change them. If anything, we hope to relax them a little bit more and for you to be able to come into the school during your time slot. But we're just going to have to see what happens, and we'll communicate with you as and when.
So if you've got any more questions, feel free to send them in on that Wednesday, or if you think of one on the actual day, feel free just to turn up on the Facebook Live. It'll be recorded anyway, so if you miss it, don't worry, you can go back and watch it later. But hopefully then we'll be able to answer some questions. You can hopefully also say hello to some other parents who you might know or might not know, and hopefully you can get to know each other in the group as well. It's really helpful to do that. And if you've got any questions between now and then, feel free to either call the office or email us in. It's probably the easiest way, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can.
Yep. Oh, just one more thing. Yesterday you got a sheet that says "My Wonderful Child" on it that is new for our transition this week. We just want you to jot down there anything you think you want us to know about your child, because we know how stressful this situation can be. I've got a child myself transitioning to year 7 who really needed an enhanced transition, and he's not getting it. So I know how stressful it is. I've got all these little niggles and worries, and there's all these things I want to tell the teachers about him, especially as he's now going into year 7, but I can't. So we've created that so with you in mind, so anything can go on there. Just your ramblings at 3 a.m. if you're worrying about anything, and we will do our best.
And also, as I say, just because we know discussion is going to be limited because we can't have you in school, so actually anything you can tell us about your child helps us plan for September, so we know what kinds of things to put in place for them.
Yeah, anything at all can go on there. That's brilliant.
Great. Well, thank you for taking the time to watch our video, and we look forward to seeing as many of you as possible next Wednesday.
Yes. Bye-bye.